Hey guys, it is Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing, and I'm here with my 4th October weekly wrap-up. So I'm sorry that it's a little bit dark and a little bit weird in this, the quality of the video. I'm just recording on my phone as always, but it's dark outside, so there's not much light going on in my room right now. There's just my floor light or my ceiling light I should say, and it's not that great. So I'm hoping to get a new camera soon. It's my birthday next month, so I'm thinking of asking my mum and dad to help me buy a camera, maybe kind of give me a little bit of money towards it or not. I'm not really sure yet, but hopefully by the end of the year I'll have a new camera with maybe a tripod and stuff, and I will be able to make some better quality videos, so we will see. So this week was pretty good for me. I read 3 books. I just finished the last one a couple of hours ago, but the first book I read this week, it actually took me 4 days to read. 4 days? Yes, like 4 days to read, which is a little bit unusual for me because I normally read books within like 2 days. But it was a little bit longer, and it is The King's Curse by Phillipa Gregory. I got this book last Christmas off Santa, and I had been wanting to read it for a year and I just haven't picked it up, so I eventually picked it up, said I was going to read it because I love, as anyone who has been watching my channel knows, I love my historical fiction and I really love Phillipa Gregory, and I love anything to do with the Tudors. So yeah, so this book was over 600 pages, so it did take me a good few days to read. It's a little bit chunky, as you guys can see. This book is about a woman who is kind of, she was part of a family that could have a claim on the throne, is the best way to put it. So her sons would have quite a good claim on the throne if King Henry was to die without an heir, if King Henry VIII was to die without an heir. So this woman has lived in fear her whole life of King Henry's father, Henry VII, and King Henry VIII now. So it's about her, and she looked after King Henry VIII's older brother, who was originally supposed to be king, and it goes through the whole time period of King Henry becoming king, obviously, and then all through that up until certain events happen, and that's when it goes off. So it's a good period of about between 20 to 30 years, about 30 years I think, or more, of this book. So it's very long. It got a little bit dense at times. It got a little bit boring, I think, for me, because it was just such a long time period. But I could understand why it had to be that long because of certain events that happened. It had to span that long for her story to be told. So it did lose a little bit of it, the attraction. I kind of wasn't as intense about it. I didn't really want to pick it up by like after the 3rd day, when I only had about 100 pages left. I was a little bit like ugh about it, even though I didn't have that much left of it. Overall, I did enjoy it, and I think that if people like Phillipa Gregory and they like this kind of books to do with the Tudors and to do with King Henry VIII, it's a very good insight into kind of his reign and how he kind of started becoming very paranoid and very crazy near the end of it when he started getting older, and how he just completely changed from like a very boisterous, good-looking king to someone who was completely just crazy and, you know, beheading people left, right and centre, and the fear that it instilled in his people, and people who were his best friends could suddenly find themselves being beheaded a week later, or being put into the Tower of London under the suspicion of treason when they hadn't done anything wrong but maybe just say the wrong word to the wrong person. So I thought that was a really interesting look into it. Overall, I gave it 4 stars. I didn't give it 5 stars just because I did lose my interest in it a little bit, but 4 stars, and again, I will always keep reading whatever Phillipa Gregory writes because she is like the queen of historical fiction and I just love her so much. Started reading another book before I finished The King's Curse, and that was I Let You Go by Clare Mackintosh, and I'm not really sure where this falls. I'm not really sure it's like if it's a thriller or a mystery novel, or whether it's kind of bits and bobs of everything, but it's just really interesting. This book starts off with a very bad accident, and you meet a detective called Ray and then a woman called Jenna. And then the story is told mostly through Jenna's point of view because she's running away from something really terrible that happened to her, and she's just trying to forget about her past and kind of make a new start for herself in a little village in Wales. And then you also get a point of view of the detective called Ray, who is trying to solve this terrible accident that happened, and he's starting to become obsessed with it, and he's starting to kind of lose control over his family, and his relationship with his wife is suffering and things like that. So you're getting all these different sides, and then yeah, so I really enjoyed it, but then about 50% through, it kind of flipped. Like, I can't really say too much because I can't spoil it, but anyway, I thought I was reading one thing, and then 50% through it flipped and it turned into something else, but it actually became even better for me because I was just like, what am I reading? Like, what just happened? And I just couldn't put it down. I had to keep reading it. After that kind of flip happened, and the story became a lot more sinister and a lot more creepy, I could not put the story down. I just had to keep reading because I had to find out what happened to it. And I just really loved it. And I gave it 4.5 stars. And the only reason I took away a 0.5 star was because of something to do with Ray and his son. And there's a period where he thinks his son is being bullied because his son has gotten very withdrawn and isn't enjoying school. And they think that his son is being bullied, and I wasn't very happy with how Ray dealt with that. I don't think, he never kind of approached his son and asked him, like, are you being bullied? Is everything okay? Do you need to talk? Nothing like that ever happened, and I just don't think it's the greatest message to send out to people that, like, don't talk to your children if you think they're being bullied. If children are being bullied, they need someone to talk to. And I just didn't like that. That just kind of annoyed me. But overall, I really love this book. I think if anyone is looking for a good little mystery to really grip them, I think this is it, because I think it's just amazing. And the next book I read is Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill, and I actually just finished this an hour or so ago, so I am still kind of getting my head around it. This book is set in a dystopian future where females are no longer being born naturally because they were always aborted. So now females are created in kind of a lab, so kind of test tube babies, I guess. And depending on how many sons are born in a particular section every year, a certain number of girls are created as well. There's a certain number created that they can become wives or companions to the sons, and then there's also extra created so they can become concubines, or basically prostitutes. And then the girls are brought up in this school where they have loads and loads of rules to maintain, and they are basically taught that they have to be perfect and they have to be beautiful all the time, they have to be skinny, and it's just so interesting to read. This book really reminded me of The Handmaid's Tale. I think it could almost become a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, I think, but I don't think you don't have to have read The Handmaid's Tale to have read this. This is basically kind of a more modern version of The Handmaid's Tale, I think, and it's just really interesting. It's kind of a play on, I think, a lot of the beauty standards thrown to women in today's society, and how, we're kind of expected to look and to behave and all those kind of things. I think it's kind of almost taken up a level, obviously, in this book, but this book is kind of, it's very real, and it's very scary because it's very real, and yeah, it's just a really thought-provoking book, and it's a little bit strange at first. You kind of have to really kind of wait a few chapters to really get into the story, but you soon start really like feeling for the main character who's telling the story, and she's kind of becomes a little bit unreliable, like as an unreliable narrator at some points, but you're really feeling for her and you're really rooting for her to do well. And another thing I found really interesting with this book is that all the females' names are given, they're all in lowercase. They don't have a capital letter at the start of their name. And I thought that was a really interesting decision on Louise O'Neill's part, especially considering the kind of second-class citizenship that the women have in these books. They're like basically nothing but meat and baby carriers. They're not treated well at all, and I just thought it was really interesting that they weren't even given the dignity of having a capital letter in their name. They weren't even given that, so it was like, their power was taken away, and the little bit of respect that they could have was taken away, and I just thought that was a really interesting and really smart move on Louise O'Neill's part. So yeah, so I really like this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I just didn't like it enough to give it 5 stars, but it's a really solid 4. So that is it for my weekly wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed your week, and I hope you enjoy your next week, and comment if you have any thoughts on any of the books I read and what I thought of them, and I will see you guys again. So thanks for watching. Bye.